Dodge this.
One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of DTRH. It is December 17th, 2015. I'm going to be getting into a few topics tonight. Gun control, that huge methane leak that's going on out in LA. What methane leak, Popeye? Well, if you listened to my broadcast, you already know I had Radchick on Tuesday, and Joe, and the three of us did an epic broadcast, which is already on YouTube alone, upwards of almost 1,000 views. And Christina cut up a couple sections of just the methane leak part, and I think she did a couple of the space weather things too, and she made a couple videos, like shorter segments, and threw them up on her YouTube channel with links back to the full-length one. So if you're a listener to DTRH, I'm pretty sure that by now you know what the methane leak out in California is, but I'm going to be going over it in a little bit more detail tonight, explaining how big this thing really is for the listeners that don't understand. This is the equivalent of the Macondo well out in the Gulf. If you don't know what I'm talking about what's otherwise known as the BP oil spill. Remember that debacle? Remember that whole shit show out in the Gulf of Mexico, which, by the way, the oil is still out there. They just sunk it using Corexit. It's all sitting on the bottom of the Gulf. Ask anybody that lives in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. Ask them. Ask them what happens when it rains and when a storm comes in. Ask them what happens when a tropical system comes through. Picks the oil up right off the bottom of the ocean and deposits it on our beautiful sugar sand here in Florida. You know how hard it is to get oil out of sugar sand? Do you have any idea? You have any idea? Thank you, BP. What was his name? Tony... I can't remember his last name. Tony the douchebag. That's what we'll call him. That's the guy that ran BP. I can't remember his last name right now. That idiot. Well, I would rather... What did he say? I'd rather be home, like reading a book or watching or golfing or whatever the hell he said. Made some stupid-ass comment. That's the attitude they have. Well, we have somewhat of the same situation going on with this methane leak. Now, it's not spewing oil. It's actually spewing gas. At least the oil you could physically see, and your mind could be wrapped around that. The gas you can't unless you have a FLIR camera. Forward-looking infrared. That's how they took those videos. That screenshot that I took that I used for that still shot for YouTube and for a promotion for the show. It's a FLIR image. In fact, I'll drop it in the chat. I'm going to play some audio. So while I'm playing the audio, I'll drop it in the chat for the listeners. Go over to truthfrequencyradio.com and go to the listen live section. And there's a couple different options, and you can go to the chat room there and interact with the other listeners. And that's where I'm going to drop the picture. It's a FLIR image. It's a still shot I took of this FLIR camera video. And you see the methane cloud floating around the mountains. And there's a couple different... Just go on YouTube right now. Because some of you might hear this. It'll be an archive. Go on YouTube right now and type in methane leak, huge methane leak in California. And the show that Christina, Joe, and I did will come up. And Christina's videos will come up, but a couple of the FLIR videos should come up. Go look at that. Go look. That's what you're not seeing with your naked eye. They're so freaked out by this that they're ordering Well, there's people that are evacuating out of there already. I don't know if I shouldn't say they've ordered evacuations yet. I don't think they have. They're trying to get the governor to order evacuations and get on this and get the government involved. I thought California, I thought Californians, I thought Jerry Brown and all them, I thought they were about the environment. Aren't they about the environment? Don't they care? I'm being sarcastic. These politicians are scumbags. Where are they? There are people that are being exposed to horrific chemicals that are coming out of the ground. And it's not like the earth is just spewing in this and that they had no indication that this could ever happen. Again, this is a well. This is an old oil well they drilled injection wells into it, and they inject the gas, natural gas. They pipe it in from all other places, including Canada, and then they inject it into this old oil well in the ground. The ground holds it, obviously, like a pressurized container, and then they have pipes which they use to feed for Southern Californians who need heat during the winter. That's what this is all about. That's what this is. And this thing that's leaking, this pipe, it's part of the system that's leaking from what I've gathered from the research I've done. And they've said this, that the area that's leaking is part of, it's like the heart, they called it the heart of their system. That's their quotes, not mine. They said it's the heart of their system, their storage system. So you have this huge, huge old oil well that they're using as a storage tank underneath the ground for this natural gas that they're piping in from elsewhere, and they're injecting it in there. Well, one of the pipes broke. Well, imagine that. You have pipes in the ground in an area where there's seismic activity, where the ground moves. Maybe somebody should, in the industry, look into, I don't know, flex pipe? I don't know. Can't we make some sort of flexible pipe that can move a little bit when the ground moves? That way that we don't have cracks? Because, rigid pipes snap all the time. You'd think we would have learned this dealing with earthquakes in cities for over 100 years. At what point don't we learn civil engineering? At what point do we allow, the equivalent of like a 6-year-old to run things? But like Robert Kennedy says, or Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK, that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, like Jr. says, in one of the clips I'm going to play, this well was dug the year he was born, and he's 62. Got to wonder if all the pipes have been replaced in the past 62 years. Negative. I'm willing to bet the answer would be no. Remember, these corporations don't do anything that doesn't have to be done. If they actually, if you believe that, oh no, they always have plans, Popeye, they do the right thing. Really? Again, really? Then why is it the oil drilling industry, not the gas part, but we'll just say the oil part of it? How come when they drilled the Macondo well in the Gulf, did they have a backup plan? Did they have a plan for what happens if, oops? No, they didn't. They didn't even put that much thought into it. They do not care. They don't care. Remember, it's about money. Corporations have become like, what is it called? Not, crony capitalism, I guess you could call it. But it's more like a corporatocracy, as Perkins would call it. John Perkins, the economic hitman. It's a corporatocracy. They've gone from the old way of doing things, which years and years and years ago actually used to be about putting out somewhat of a decent product. And now it's about getting the most bang for your buck, which means using the cheapest parts to put your crap together, selling it to the public and pushing it and making them want it, spending 3 times, 10 times, maybe even 10 times the amount that you'd spend building it on PR for the object and shoving it down people's throats. That's corporations. They don't, when it comes to drilling wells and stuff, they don't care. What do they, and how do they respond when there is a major event? Oh, they just go like KBR came in, was it Halliburton? Came in and bought boots and coots, right? It was either a couple days before or a couple days after. I think it was a couple days before the oil well over the BP spill went. Kind of makes you wonder if they kind of had foreknowledge. And I'm not saying, oh, they blew the well, blah, blah. No, what I'm saying is they probably knew that there were probably cracks. In fact, isn't that what Matt Simmons, Christina brought him up the other night, isn't that what Matt Simmons said? That there was a huge crack in the ocean floor and that the wellhead that they showed wasn't the one that was really leaking all the oil. Oh, and then Matt Simmons dies in his hot tub. He decides to go in his hot tub in the middle of a thunderstorm, I think it was. Was he a thunderstorm or a snowstorm? I think it was a thunderstorm. He decided to go out into the middle of his hot tub in the middle of a like really severe thunderstorm and has a heart attack in his hot tub right after he's on the news talking about a big crack in the earth. Yeah. Google Matt Simmons if you don't know who I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Google BP, oil spill, comma, Matt Simmons, and go watch the videos. And then you'll see, oh, he died suddenly of a heart attack. Oh, isn't that convenient? Anyway, so I want to get into the methane leak here. I have about 15 minutes left now that I've been sitting here pontificating. I have just about enough time. I want to play these audio clips for you, and then I'll probably end up interrupting them. At least the one with Kennedy and Aaron Brockovich, I'll probably end up interrupting it and pointing things out. But I'm going to try to let these 2 audio clips play for you so you can kind of get a better idea, a full understanding as to the full situation over there. And the first one I'm going to play is from back in November 24th of this year. You got to hear this. This is, and I played, part of this was played the other day, but it's a different clip. But there's a section where you hear the people from, was it SoCal Gas or whatever, they come on and they're like, we're so sorry, we didn't mean to do this, it was an accident. It's one of those things that it rarely happens. The chances of it happening, which that translates to, we didn't think that this was going to happen because we're so effing arrogant about how we handle things. Hubris, ladies and gentlemen, hubris. Big problem. Complacency kills. They get complacent. Oh, we've never had that kind of accident before. We're awesome. That'll never happen. So they don't even plan for it. They don't even have, it's almost like cognitive dissonance. Like they don't want to ever believe that could happen. So we're not even going to bother planning for it. And then when it happens, they go, oh, what do we do? Oh, well, we have to have a meeting and we have to think about it. Meanwhile, whatever is leaking, whether it's methane, oil, 3 meltdowns at Fukushima. No, we don't, the Japanese, we don't have the money to fix it properly, so we're going to try to throw everything else at it over the course of 4 years. How many billions of dollars did you waste, geniuses? Maybe you should have fixed it right the first time. Maybe you should have asked for international help. How about that? Oh, there's that. Anyway, I could get sidetracked on Fukushima alone. Anyway, I want to get into this clip. So here's the first one, and both of these are from one of them, I think, is from CBS out there, and the other one's from KTLA. So here, this is the first one. This is from November 24th of this year.
They say they're sick and tired of being sick. Now residents demand action over a gas leak. Welcome back to CBS 2 News at 5. I'm Paul Majors.
And I'm Pat Harvey. Angry Porter Ranch residents say a natural gas leak is making them sick.
Yeah, it hasn't been fixed in more than a month. As CBS 2's Dave Lopez shows us, they took their fight to county supervisors.
People are sick. Their kids are sick. They've been going through this for a month. People have been relocated.
Now I'm told it's going to be another 90 days. It's not okay.
Today, the people of Porter Ranch came to the Board of Supervisors, asking them, please, can't you do anything to alleviate what they call the horrible, noxious odor that they've endured for 31 days?
Stopping the leak quickly and safely is our company's top priority. We're deeply sorry for how the leak has affected the community.
But for the next 90 minutes, representatives from various agencies in the county, including Southern Cal Gas, explained that the leak has not been stopped because they haven't been able to locate it, and health risk, according to the health department, are minimal.
These exposures are not expected to lead to long-term or permanent health problems, but they are expected to recur daily as long as the odors remain.
It was
bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Hey, EPA, is it safe to breathe the air at ground zero? Yeah, go right ahead, all you first responders, all you people that live down there. Go right. There's nothing bad in the air. 14 years later, everybody's dying of cancer and they have respiratory illnesses. And we've actually lost more first responders to the illnesses that they got from breathing the dirty air at ground zero from the EPA's lies than we did from the supposed terrorist attack itself. Swallow that one, America. Oh, we checked it. It's fine. You should be able to breathe it. And we're so sorry. We didn't mean to screw your lives up and make you have to relocate. I know I don't have to because I live like 40 miles out of the city in the rich area where none of this where none of this goes on. We only did this in the blue collar areas, closer to the lower income areas. Oh, by the way, that seems to be an ongoing thing. They put all this horrible industrial crap in the blue collar and in the lower income communities. The higher income communities, well, maybe some have some waste here and there, but for the most part, they don't seem to have these problems. Put it in someone else's backyard. Nice attitude.
Explain to the supervisors that a steel pipe 8,500 feet into the ground is the source of the leak. The problem is they can't pinpoint it, and they could give the supervisors no estimate when they will.
We want to clarify that there are no mandatory relocations that are being ordered by the health officer.
The board was told that since Friday, at the company's expense, more than 100 families have been relocated from the affected area, and the offer applies to anyone else who wants to move from there until this can be resolved. But for the people who made the drive from Porter Ranch to downtown Los Angeles, that was of little consolation.
We're exactly where we were yesterday and a month ago.
Is the smell getting any better or worse?
It's actually been getting worse.
So the frustration continues. No resolution from the Board of Supervisors because they have no power to do anything except to put pressure on the board that monitors the quality of air in Los Angeles, the AQMD, to issue daily fines on Southern California gas, fines of up to $75,000 a day. But so far, there's no indication that the Board of Supervisors will do that. From downtown Los Angeles, Dave Lopez, CBS 2 News.
So the one board is neutered and has no power, and they can only make recommendations to the other board, which isn't going to do anything because it sounds like they're pretty much in the back pocket of SoCal Gas. Welcome to politics, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the oil and gas industry. Oh, and the nuke industry is just as much of a bunch of shitbags as well. I'm not pulling any punches. If you can't deal with me speaking like this, it's the truth. You need to hear it straight. Not some, oh, it's okay, it'll be okay, I promise, we're sorry. We didn't mean to make everybody sick. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't mean to do it with BP. What about Bayou Corn? Oops. Oops, big salt dome. Oops, drill a hole into it. Oops, cracked it. Oops, oh, look, sinkhole. Oh, people got to move. People got to change their lives, leave memories, land their homes behind. Why? For what? Because some greedy scumbag corporation wanted to make another dollar. Thanks, Texas Brine. That's who's responsible for the Bayou Corn sinkhole. I could go on. There's like so many different examples. Anyway, I want to get to the other audio clip, which I'm going to have to play over the rest of this segment and into the beginning of the next, because I'm going to end up interrupting it a few times, and it's like 8.5 minutes long. But you need to hear this. This is from last Saturday. This is Aaron Brockovich and Robert Kennedy Jr. on KTLA in the morning talking about the ongoing issue over there right now with this methane leak.
Details now. This is new video you're looking at here this morning. This is different than what you saw the other day. This is of the massive gas leak in Porter Ranch. It's time-lapse footage that appears to show a giant cloud of methane gas barreling down the mountain there. And the problem does not just affect people in Porter Ranch. California Air Resources Board estimating the leak is releasing about 50,000 kilos of methane per hour. That is comparable to 200,000 cars running for a year straight. This morning, Porter Ranch residents are planning a protest, many of them complaining of health problems as a result of this leak.
Now, working with those residents are two high-profile advocates, environmental activist Aaron Brockovich and attorney Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They join us now here on set. I want to start with you, Aaron, because you were there for just a matter of hours yesterday, right? Wednesday. And you're already feeling effects. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. We were there, and Bob and I were talking that in the back, and he's been out there as well, and my crew and I. When you go into a situation like that and you are listening to all these community and they're clearly having health effects, you don't want to come in and like be an alarmist or anything like that. So we're oftentimes like looking at each other going, are you feeling woozy? Do you have a headache? And within an hour, this kind of woozy feeling came over us. Headache, specifically our throats, they felt really dry, like something was almost sucking like out of you. And then kind of coughing. And by the time I got home, it was like I felt like something very heavy on my chest. I felt like I couldn't get air. My ears were closing off. The whole time I was there, my eyes were just watering. I was not the only one experiencing this.
Robert, your law firm releasing that video right there. In your opinion, and the experts you've talked to, 50 days now, can this actually be fixed?
Well, I imagine it can be fixed. This is very much like, it's almost identical to what happened in the BP oil spill. There's the valve that blew is 9,000 feet below the surface of the land. So everything that they basically have to run a parallel pipe.
9,000 feet down. Oh, and by the way, they're not really sure where 9,000 feet down it's busted. It's not like they've pinpointed and go, oh, we know at this level, here it is. We're going to go down and put junk shot or no, they don't even know where it is yet.
And try to find the pipe and relieve the pressure on that reservoir. One of the, what Aaron and I kind of were talking about in the back room is how, because we both seen a lot of these, we've worked on these things together, just a stunning paralysis of the state agencies that you're not, why has the state not declared a state of emergency? You have children with their nose bleeding, with respiratory problems, with abdominal problems, with asthma, etc. And it's very seldom that we see an incident like this, a toxic incident where there's poison gas and where there's an instantaneous impact on public health. These children need to be moved. There's 1,000 families that need to be moved immediately. The schools need to be facilitated so that they can switch from one school to the other. The governor needs to get involved with this. One of the problems is we've got a state agency, Dogger, that essentially let this happen 3 weeks before this spill occurred. Dogger announced that 78% of the injection wells in California are out of compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act. For people who want to see, get more information and see a copy of that video and other videos, they should go to PorterRanchLawsuit.com, and there's a lot of information there. But the big, the immediate concern that both Aaron and I have is that, long before the lawsuit, we need to get these people out of there. We need to get them away from this toxic gas. There's methane, toluene, xylene, benzene, ethylbenzene, and radon, all of which are carcinogens, plus the sulfuric compounds, hydrogen sulfide and sulfuric dioxide, which cause brain damage, which cause neurological damage, which cause kidney and liver damage, and these people need to be moved.
You talk about the 1,000 people who are trying to be relocated or should be relocated, but it goes beyond just this Porter Ranch community. This is something that you say that everybody should be concerned about.
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, it's going down, we're having people contact us from Granada Hills, from the Chatsworth area. You're looking at 700 that have already been moved, and it's going to be more than 1,000. You potentially have 3,000 to 5,000 homes up there that need to be relocated. We're very concerned about the school. Bobby's right. We're very concerned there needs to be a state of emergency. And what does concern me is, let's be honest, we live in Southern California. We know what goes on out here. We've got a lot of oil and gas wells. We historically have been that way. We have fracking issues. We're earthquake prone. We're in droughts. We have Santa Ana winds. We're still warm. We have fires. And that's not conducive to a condition like this that could play itself out all throughout Southern California. So it is an issue. Their governor should get involved. The state should be involved. We need new policies. We need better management. We need transparency from these companies, from our agencies, from our politicians, because this is a situation that is bad enough in real time right now that could play itself out in any part of Southern California.
Some residents that are affected by this, they want the facility shut down. Do you want it shut down? And we did offer Southern California Gas an opportunity to come on this morning. They did not provide someone, but I guess I will ask sort of on their behalf. This is the facility that provides gas for all of the San Fernando Valley, Simi Valley. If someone doesn't have gas to heat their home, you can sure as heck bet they're going to be upset about that. Is it possible or reasonable to demand a shutdown of this?
I don't think we know the answer to that question right now. It's not just this well. There are 98 wells in that vicinity, and all of them have the same problem. This well was actually created.
Did you hear what he just said? It kind of got like glossed over. There's 98 wells in that vicinity. Not in total. In that vicinity alone. And they all have the same issue that this one does, that there's not a protective casing around the pipe. There's supposed to be by law, there's supposed to be casings around these pipes, and there's a section, I believe it's like at least a mile long, where there's no protected casing, and he just said 98 wells in the vicinity. In the vicinity, not in total. They all have the same problem. We need to be on top of this. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get right back into it where I left off. I rewound it about 10 seconds so you get the full context of RFK Jr.'s conversation here. In case people are wondering, he sounds like that because he's got a condition, and I forget what it's called, but it messes with, I guess, the muscles in his throat, and it causes him to spasm and stuff, and that's why he sounds like that when he talks. It's actually a health condition that he's got. I think he's had it his whole life. I think he was born with it, if I remember correctly. Because I saw some people making comments in the chat room asking why he sounded like that. So that's why he sounded like that. I don't think it was from being on the ground there exposed to the methane. But you never know. That could add to it. Anyway, we're going to pick it back up. He makes the comment about the 98 other wells just like this one in the area. And wait till he gets to the point where he says, oh, and this thing, by the way, is 62 years old. It's the same age as me. So here we go.
Not just this well, there are 98 wells in that vicinity, and all of them have the same problem. This well was actually created the year that I was born, so I was 62 years old. And I can tell you that, things fall apart in 62 years. And it was built to standards that today would be regarded as illegal. Normally, to have a well like this, an injection well, you need a concrete casing from the wellhead all the way down to the reservoir dome. They've got about 6,000 feet, over a mile of unprotected casing. So it was just a matter of time before this happened. And there's 98 wells in that same area that have the same problem. So this is a long-term problem. We need the gas right now for Southern California, but at the same time, we've got to figure out a safer way to do this. And you have an agency that can't be trusted, that essentially is the poster child for captive agency phenomena. This is an agency that's supposed to be regulating the industry, Dogger, but it is a wholly owned subsidiary. It's a sock puppet for the industry. It's supposed to be regulating. Its driving mandate over the past 2 years has been to write more permits and to make sure that there's more gas wells being drilled. And so that's what people have been paying attention to, and safety has been left on the shelf.
Such important information. We really appreciate it.
You hear what he just said? He said all they've been worried about. This is the agency that's supposed to be looking out. This is the one that, again, the watchdog agency that's supposed to regulate these people. And they have only been concerned with giving out more permits to drill more wells. What's safety? Now, where have we seen this before? Oh, we've seen it in the oil industry, too. Oh, we've seen it in the nuke industry. So don't let the politicians or these corporate a-holes try to baffle you with bullshit and tell you, well, you know, you don't understand the way things work. Blah, 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 blah. No, I think we pretty much understand the way things work rather clearly. The way things work, to quote Wesley Snipes in the movie New Jack City. Money talks and bullshit runs a marathon. And that's how it works. And these huge oil and gas and nuke companies have enough money to pay off politicians, state, local, and federal to get whatever they want. It's that simple. Unfortunately, it's that simple. The watchdog agencies are neutered. And in many cases, you have where there's one agency that actually wants to do something, and they're trying to do something like this one board, and they have to go to this watchdog board, this agency, and they're not doing anything. They don't care. They're just giving out permits. Hey, keep drilling. It's cool. What's safety? Screw the people that live in that area. I don't live there. I don't have any family there, so I'm not concerned about it. That's probably partially some of the thinking that goes into it, but it's really more about money. Being a yes man, being a company man, because I need to get that bonus at the end of the year. I need to impress my boss. Maybe I'll get a raise. Maybe I'll get a promotion. Who cares about selling out the environment, the humans, the earth, my children's future? Yeah, I'll take that job, sure. Not ever. Let me finish up the audio clip and then I'll continue to woodshed this.
Both of you being here, and we'll stay with you on this, and hopefully you'll come back and continue to update us on what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, anytime.
So we'll be out there
working on it.
We will, and we'll come back for an update. We've launched quite a few SUMA canisters up there, so because we see the cloud, we know it's there. Every resident, we all should know what's in it, what they're being exposed to, and so we'll be back up there. But I was telling Bobby before I came out, I really feel for these people, and you see me back up there, I'm telling you, I'm wearing a mask. I don't care what anyone says, and they need to be moved. This needs to be a state of emergency. It's a real-time situation, and I expect more from our agencies, our politicians, and from this state. We need emergency preparedness. It's missing out there, and we need to help them.
Thank you for being here this morning. Both of you will continue to reach out, provide an opportunity for Southern California Gas to come on as well tomorrow if they would like to. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, and as far as I know, Southern California Gas, other than that statement, we're sorry, really hasn't said anything else. Because they really can't. They have egg on their face. And anything that any of their representatives might say on TV could be used in a lawsuit later on against them. So I'm willing to bet their attorneys are probably all over this, saying, shh, no speaky to the pressy. Capiche? Willing to bet that's probably the memo that's going around right now at SoCal Gas. El no speako to reporters. See how it works, ladies and gentlemen? They won't even take personal responsibility for it. Well, Popeye, that would open them up to legal problems. It just makes perfect legal sense. Wait, what? Why would you defend that? What? I've heard that before. Well, you know, if you were a businessman, it makes perfect sense. But we're not businessmen, so stop trying to play devil's advocate. They're scumbags, is what they're doing. And we keep letting them get away with it. We let the politicians let them get away with it. Well, we get angry about it. We protest. We have some signs. We picket. Maybe a couple people get arrested, civil disobedience, and then it all goes away. Did any of us ever hold BP responsible? Well, the government levied fines against them. So let me get this straight. Let me just get this straight. People lost their lives. People lost their homes, their memories. The entire Gulf was poisoned, still is poisoned. Ecosystems dying because of the crap that they dumped in there. Coasties getting sick. All the coasties that responded to that and they were burning the oil off, a lot of them are getting sick from the fumes. A lot of them have medical problems. Yeah, you just don't hear about it, but a lot of them have gotten discharged already. Medical discharges. Yeah. But don't worry about that because our government levied fines against them. And does our government split that money up, by the way, with any of us? Does the government give anybody that's sick a check? Do they? Did they give you a check? Did they come to your house and say, hey, man, I know you live in the Gulf, and I know you bought a house on the water like 8-9 years ago, and it was a really beautiful house, but then the BP oil spill happened, but we levied fines. So I know your beachfront property got jacked up. I know maybe your kids got sick or you got sick. But hey, we levied fines. So there's that. You should feel better because, hey, we fined them. But who gets that money? Well, we're your government. We represent you. So technically you got the money. Really? Because I didn't get a check. I don't recall any of those people getting their medical bills paid. And when I say I didn't get a check, I'm putting myself in the situation of the people that were affected by it on the Gulf Coast. You get it? In case someone says, well, Popeye wants a check from BP. No. You get my drift? I don't see BP paying anybody's medical bills. Maybe they are on the back end. I'm willing to bet in the back end there's a lot of stuff that's being paid that you don't know. But it's done so because they contact people that are pretty much on their deathbed, and they send a representative, and then they have them sign, a do not disclose agreement, a non-disclosure, and that's it. You don't hear about it anymore. There's a lot of BP oil spill activists that disappeared. I would love to talk to Kendra Arneson. Tried to talk to her when the BP oil spill thing first happened. I reached out to her, going back and forth on Facebook, and then she kind of just disappeared. I was trying to get her on the broadcast. In fact, the BP oil spill, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, is the one event I haven't been able to get anybody to come on and talk about. I can get people to come on and talk about Fukushima. I can't get people to come on and talk about the BP oil spill with me. It's the one major event like that I could not get, and I reached out to like 20 different people. I mean, I've asked other activists too. Hey, do you know what's up with the BP oil spill people? Because they don't return emails, I think a lot of them are paid off. I think and I'm not badgering them. Most of those people were sick, if not all of them. And they probably eventually got to the point where they were like on death's door, and that's what these corporations do. They wait, and then they come to you and they say, hey, look, we'll pay your medical bills for you. We'll give you money. We'll do all this, blah, 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 blah. You sign a non-disclosure agreement, though, and you can't talk about this anymore because they don't want the bad press. They don't want people demanding an end to their behavior. They have endless amounts of money. They'll just keep drilling for more oil and keep selling it, or drilling for more natural gas, or making more nuke waste in their reactors and dicking around with fuel rods. They don't care. They do not care. It's easier to pay people off on the back end. So with the BP oil spill, I see a lot of these people disappeared. A lot of them. You don't hear about it anymore. The general public thinks it's fixed. Oh, Obama came in and cleaned that up. Really? Obama went down there by himself, and he went down there with some, oil pigs, which are those big round things that look like sausages that they put in the water. They keep oil, and they try to separate oil, like in rivers and stuff. They're called oil pigs. Yeah, so he went down there with a bunch of them, and he went down there with some Speedy Dry for the stuff that you could soak up on top, right? Then he scooped all the sand up by himself with his superhuman powers. He flew down there, I may add, in his Superman outfit, right, with his cape, right? Oh no, none of that happened. That's right, none of that happened. No, he left it up to BP and Boots and Coots, which, well, again, wasn't that bought up by Halliburton? Not long before the BP oil spill. Perhaps they knew the seafloor was already cracked. Again, like Matt Simmons said, oh, look, you had a heart attack, Matt, in your hot tub. Google the BP oil spill, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we shouldn't forget that little debacle, because guess what? A lot of the people involved in the BP oil spill, whether it be the cleanup or representing people, surprise, surprise, are involved out in LA with this methane leak. And they're bringing in people from the Kuwait oil field fires, like Boots and Coots. Kind of makes me wonder if they're going to call on Red Adair's old crew. Although Red Adair's old crew, that was in the 90s. Those guys are probably retired, but they're proteges, whatever you want to call them, the guys that they trained, their little young Padawan, to make a Star Wars reference, they might be working. I mean, there's got to be guys that were connected to the RADIOACTIVE's crew. Those, I mean, if they were the same guys that worked on the oil field fires, I mean, like, not the same company. If it's just the same company, then whatever, it's probably new people. But if it's the same individuals, then, I mean, obviously they must consider this a real problem. But the thing is, the way they're handling, I mean, they're actually talking about getting people out of there. You have somewhat of a response so far, more so than what I see going on at Westlake. And I said this to Christina today. I said, the difference in the response between what's going on in California and what's going on in St. Louis is drastic on many levels. I mean, the people out there have gotten their stuff together to the point where they have legal representation and they're actually getting out of there physically, which is what they need to do. And the Westlake people, they need to be able to find somebody to represent them, and then they can start to, their little exodus out of there. Problem is, I wonder how hard it is to find somebody to represent you against the nuke cartel versus against the gas and oil cartel. Because remember, you have a ton of people that buy into the global warming thing, which I believe Robert Kennedy Jr. does. So you have somebody who, we'll say, I don't want to say liberals because that's, again, labeling, and that's bringing it down to the lowest common denominator, which is what the powers that shouldn't be try to do, to dumb people down, to make it a left versus right, and A versus B, my side versus your side. It's one of two choices. You get it? So I'm not trying to use that label, but people that might fall into that political ideology will say, there's plenty of them that are against the oil and the gas industry. So there's plenty of attorneys to hop up and go, yes, no oil, no gas. But the very same people that are Greenpeacers and against the oil and the gas industry seem to be pushing nuke as the new green energy. I've seen this. Nuke is the new green. No, it's not. It's not clean. Yes, it is, Popeye. We don't have that many bad issues. Do you know anything that you're talking about? Hanford. Google Hanford. Google 3 Mile Island. Google Chernobyl. How about the ongoing 3 meltdowns at Fukushima? Shall I continue? Oh, how about Westlake, where we're still dealing with the radioactive waste from the frigging Manhattan Project over 65 years ago. And this waste is still causing cancer and killing people today. We still haven't dealt with waste from over 65 years ago. But let's make more, because it's the clean energy, right? It's so clean that its waste kills people over 65 years later. Shall I reiterate that one more time for you people that think nuke energy is clean out there? The same cartel that are out there, the same people that are out there, oh my God, we have to protect everybody. We have to come out and, oh my God, the methane leak. But I guarantee you these are the same people that if they push to, there are some people out there that will push, they will push to have the oil and the gas industry shut down, but they'll be in favor of the nuke industry. It's really absurd, some of the mind control things that have gone on to get people to actually believe that nuke, and when I say mind control, I mean propaganda. I mean trying to repeat something to you and get you to believe a slogan. That's a form of mind control, whether or not you want to believe it or not. It is. So the big difference between the two is you'll have attorneys that are willing to take on oil and gas and help these people out. You don't have attorneys that are willing to help out the people of Westlake. And there's a huge disparity between the two. This thing in Westlake's been going on 3 years. This thing in Southern California has been going on for like 7 weeks now, since October. Not that it's bad, or not that it's not bad, but I mean, one's been going on for 7-8 weeks. The other one's been going on for, well, actually since the 40s, but I mean, people just started to find out about it. The locals started to realize what was going on health-wise like 3-4 years ago. Does nobody else see the disparity between the two? Suddenly, I mean, the news is all over this thing, the methane thing. You have Aaron Brockovich all over it. You have Robert F. Kennedy. Where's Aaron Brockovich and Robert F. Kennedy for Westlake? Where? Where's the news coverage for Westlake and for all the people in St. Louis and Coldwater Creek? Where's the coverage for those people? Because there's a drastic difference between the response to both. And I honestly think it has a lot to do with the power of the nuke cartel and the military-industrial complex as a whole. They're not really too much. I mean, they are to a degree, but they're not on the front face of things affected by a gas leak. So that's the gas company's problem. It's not the military. When it comes to nukes, well, that's a different story. So not only do you probably have the DOE involved in helping, convolute things and cover it up. Well, not probably, you do. You have DOE, DOD, military-industrial complex itself. Everybody from Boeing, Raytheon, Siemens, anybody that has from the people that make the planes that carry the missiles and the bombs to the people that build the bomb themselves. And when I say the bomb, I'm talking about the nuke one. Not a JDAM. Not a 2,000-pound, bunker-busting bomb. No. I'm not talking about a standard, regular munition. No. I'm talking about the nuke kind. The one that, the gift that keeps on giving for about 500,000 years, 200,000 years, whatever the hell the half-life is. Yeah, the gift that keeps on giving. So no, nuke energy to the green crowd out in Cali. One, nuke energy is not clean. It is not the new green energy, so stop it. Stop it. I don't know what the people that run things or whatever, the people that are in charge of the different activist groups, whatever, however they've turned people, however they've poisoned them out there, people need to realize nuke energy, bad. If you live on the West Coast and you're worried about Fukushima radiation, but you still think nuke energy is okay, you need to take a minute and think about that, because you're thinking out of both sides of your brain. You're talking out both sides of your mouth. Think about that for a minute. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that buy into the nuke energy is clean thing don't know about the Fukushima radiation and or blow it off because they don't think it's a problem because the government told them, not to worry about it. Whether it be local, state, county, and or federal. And remember what I said about the federal government warning you about health problems. The EPA 91101. The earth, or the air at ground zero is safe to breathe. Don't worry. It won't kill you. It won't kill you. The air is safe to breathe. Or was it the 13th? I think it was September. It was either the 12th or the 13th is when they came out. It was like 2 days later they came out. Christy Todd Whitman, the former governor of New Jersey, who left. She got voted in by the people of New Jersey for a second term, left like a year, 18 months into her second term to go work for the Bush administration as the head of the EPA. And on the morning of 9/11, obviously, she was doing her job diligently, paying attention to all the reports that were coming in. And a couple of days later, they said, the air is safe to breathe. You don't need respirators. You don't need that. Stop it. You don't need respirators. You know how our government responded to Fukushima when that happened? And their monitors were saying, oh my God, the acceptable levels of radiation are being exceeded. Look, our monitors are picking up 3-4 times the amount, 10 times the amount. What do we do? How do we respond to that when there's more radiation than our acceptable limits? What do we do? Oh, we just raise the acceptable limits and then it's okay, right? Well, that's what they did. That's exactly what they did. I'm not kidding. Go look it up. Their response to Fukushima and the radiation coming over here was to just raise the acceptable limits in people's food, milk, water, air, earth, humans. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Up until that day, the acceptable limit was here. But you know what? After the nuke disaster, we raised it. So don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. Except members of the government, and I know big corporations aren't really as complacent as they want you to be. Why don't you look up how many people took off to the southern hemisphere after Fukushima, politician-wise? The president. Different people in different corporations. Why don't you do a little research? See who got in their jets and flew south for a couple weeks after Fukushima, or when there were supposed plumes coming over here. Why don't you go look and who went into the southern hemisphere? It's absolutely abhorrent. They're doing it right in front of our faces. They're literally telling you, it's okay, don't worry about the radiation levels. Don't worry about them. We'll just raise the acceptable limits. So is that what they're going to do with this methane leak? Is that what they're going to do with the radiation levels down in Westlake? The EPA is just going to come in at the end of the year and tell everybody, don't worry, we're just going to raise the acceptable limits, and look, everybody will be fine. Because raising an acceptable limit on a piece of paper doesn't stop people from getting cancer, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be real. What looks good on paper usually does not look good in real life. Not all the time does it work out. And you can change numbers and move things around. And in a report that a bureaucrat reads, well, this report says that the numbers blah, 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 blah. So I go by what the report tells me. Numbers can be changed and skewered. Levels can be changed and skewered and adjusted. It's abhorrent. They don't care. We need to do something about this. We need to stay on top of this methane thing. Actually, not only the methane thing, but Westlake. Everybody needs to get involved with what's going on in St. Louis. This is a really major, big problem. People maybe just don't comprehend it yet. I don't know how else to get people to understand. You have a radioactive waste dump that has a fire next to it that in and of itself without the fire would still be a huge problem. And it's leaking. Well, this stuff is like seeped out into the ground, so that whole area is radioactive. And it's from waste that goes back over 65 years. And we keep making more of it. And these people are sick, and they're not getting any attention. And as much as people there are people out there that care, they're not getting the help they need. So there is a huge disparity between the reaction to the two. So I'm going to urge the people. I know the people in Southern California, they're getting evacuated. So they have legal coverage. They have help. They have the things that they need. But the people in Westlake do not. So I urge everybody that's got a Facebook account that tunes into this broadcast, go over to the Westlake Landfill Facebook page. There's a huge group over there. Go join it. Help these people. My fellow radio show hosts in the alternative media. Hello? McFly, are any of you at your boards ready to do interviews? Because there's tons of people out in Westlake that are willing to do interviews. Contact me and I'll give you their info if you want it. You can't find them. I'll point you in the right direction. They need help. Stay on top of this thing out with the methane leak. And again, get involved and stay on top of Westlake. We'll be right back. 3 short minutes.